Now I'm going to solder the shields of all the wires to the backs of the pots. And to do that, we need to roughen up the back of the pot so that the solder will adhere to it. So I'm just going to take some 100 grit sandpaper here and roughen up the back of the pot so it's nice and rough like that. Doesn't require very much. Now be sure to protect your pickups, or just don't do this anywhere near them. As we're sanding, we're releasing lots of little pieces of metal, and the magnets on your pickups would just love to grab a hold of those metal filings and never let go. Next, we're going to tin the back of the pots. You need a good hot iron. This is a 40-watt iron that's been heating up for about 10 or 15 minutes. Just put some solder onto the end of the tip, and then drop the tip down onto the back of the pot and let it heat up just for a moment, not for too long. And start feeding the solder on until the solder starts to flow. Then slide the tip of the iron around on the back of the pot until you have a nice shiny blob of solder. Then go ahead and repeat this process in the back of all the other pots. So next I'll need 3 short wires for connecting up one lug of each volume pot to the back of the pot for ground. Now ground wires don't need to be anything fancy. You can even just use a bare piece of wire like a lead of a capacitor or a resistor. This can actually be kind of handy to have in your circuit to hang other grounds off of if you need to. If you prefer, you can take some wire like this. This is just unshielded 20 or 22 gauge wire, and make a nice short length. Take this one and strip off about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. And twist the ends together. This is a stranded core wire, so you want to twist that together. Later on when we tin this, that'll become fused together. And clip off a length. Like I said, it doesn't need to be very long. Just a couple inches. And then I'm going to grip it with some pliers while I strip off the other end. Okay, and just make a few like that. Next, we'll tin the ends of the wire. I'm going to use these locking pliers just to act as a third hand while I'm applying heat to the wire. Keeps it steady, gives me an extra hand free, and I won't burn my fingers on it. So grab some 6040 rosin core solder and a nice hot iron. Apply heat to the wire and then touch the solder to the wire, and it should flow onto the wire. And as it flows on there, it fills in all the spaces between the strands. Okay, so do that to all the wires you're going to be working with. And let's get on to wiring the backs of the pots. Now it's a good idea to bend the wire through the lug of the pot to make a solid mechanical connection. You can see I'm being a bit lazy here and just letting the wire sit there while I feed the solder over it. That's okay too. Now heat the lug and then feed the solder over it until the solder flows over both the wire and the lug and fills in the hole completely. Now for the back of the pot, just feed some solder onto your iron, and then you'll need some needle nose pliers to hold the wire in place because it's going to get really hot. And then heat the back of the pot until the solder melts and flows over your wire, and then just hold the wire in place until the solder dries. And you should have a nice shiny connection there. Now we'll repeat the same thing on the other volume pots, and then we'll move on to the tone pot.